parallel lines and transversals. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to know the angle relationships that are formed with a pair of parallel lines and a transversal. Name special angle pairs and apply knowledge of special angle pairs to solve for missing angle measures in diagrams involving parallel lines and transversals. So a pair of parallel lines is shown in each of these diagrams. A transversal is the line that passes through them. And special angle pairs are formed. These angle pairs have names, and they are either going to be congruent, meaning the same in measure, or supplementary. They add together to equal 180. In the first example, alternate interior angles. They are inside the parallel lines, thus interior angles. And they're on alternating sides of the transversal. One is high, one is low, one is on the left, one is on the right. Alternate interior angles are congruent. Same side interior angles, on the other hand, are inside the parallel lines but on the same side of the transversal. You'll notice there is an acute and an obtuse angle. They are not congruent. These angles are supplementary. They add together to equal 180 degrees. Alternate exterior angles are on alternating sides of the transversal, and they are outside of the parallel lines. These angles are congruent. Then there are same side exterior angles as shown. They are outside of the parallel lines and on the same side of the transversal. In this case, there's an obtuse and an acute angle, so they are not congruent. These angles are supplementary. Now, corresponding angles it's very important that you recognize these. They are basically having the same spot in the diagram, but one is just above the other. They're on the same side of the transversal, both above or below the parallel lines, and these angles are congruent. Let's look at the first question. A pair of parallel lines and a transversal are shown in the diagram. Classify the angles given in the diagram and determine the missing measure. So let's notice that both of these angles are to the left of the transversal, and they occupy the same position, namely underneath the parallel lines. These angles are corresponding, and x equals 110 degrees. Second question, a parallelogram is a quadrilateral with two pairs of parallel opposite sides. Parallelogram DEFG, and one of its angles are shown. What is the measure of angle D? So we want you to remember that with a parallelogram, these consecutive angles of angle F and D, they are basically on the same side of the transversal, and they are inside the parallel lines. These are same side interior angles, and they are supplementary, meaning they add together to equal 180 degrees. So we can subtract 180 minus 77. And that gives us 103 degrees for the measure of angle D. Next question. What is the measure of x as shown in the diagram? Well, if we looked back at the previous slides, we would realize these angles are alternate exterior angles. They are congruent. Because of that, we can set them equal. 66 is equal to x plus 10. Let's subtract 10 from both sides. And we get that x is equal to 56 degrees. Next question, classifying the angle pair that's shown in the diagram. These angles are both, now in this case the parallel lines are going basically north and south. The transversal is passing through them. 132 and 48 are on the same side of the transversal and inside the parallel lines. These are same side interior angles. Notice they are supplementary. They add together to equal 180. Question number 5. We are asked to determine the value of x and y in the diagram. And what we want to notice is that y and 132 are supplementary. They form a linear pair. So we add the two measures and set it equal to 180, so y equals 48 degrees. From there, if y is 48, look at the little triangle that's formed. We know the sum of the three angles of any triangle equals 180. So x plus y plus 90 is 180. Substitute y for 48 degrees, and you get x plus 138 equals 180. Subtract 138 from both sides, x equals 42 degrees. The correct answer is option D. Okay, the next question. We are asked to determine the value of x minus y. To do that, we want to first consider either x or y. I'm going to start with x. I'm noticing that x and 105 are vertical angles. X equals 105. Now, x and y are same side interior angles, so they are supplementary. To find y, I just subtract 180 minus 105, and I get 75 degrees. Now that I know x and y, I can figure out x minus y. Just subtract 105 minus 75, and that's 30 degrees. How are you feeling with recognizing these special angle pairs formed by parallel lines and a transversal? This problem talks about a parallelogram, A, B, C, D. One of the angles is shown, 118 degrees is the measure of angle D. And we are asking for the sum of the measures of the other three angles, A plus B plus C. So let's start by looking at angle C. It forms a same side interior angle with angle D, so angle C and D are supplementary. The measure of angle C is 62 degrees. How about the measure of angle B? B and C are supplementary. 180 minus 62 is 118. And now what we want to do is we want to figure out the measure of angle A, which would be 62 degrees, again because it's supplementary with B. Now we have enough to determine the measure of angle A plus B plus C, and that's going to be 242 degrees. And what we will remember from solving this problem is the sum of the four angles of any quadrilateral are going to be 360 degrees. The last slide is a challenge problem where we want you to look at this diagram. The arrows that you see in the diagram represent parallel lines. The right angle symbols are there. Those are 90 degrees. And we want you to please determine the measure of each angle A through M using what you've learned in this lesson.